Welcome everyone. Before I start, please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Town Council. Please note that the recording device is sensitive and the recording cannot be edited, so do not say anything you do not want recorded. If necessary, I will direct all recording in the room to be stopped, but generally I want to avoid doing that, so we will normally record everything except any item taken in closed session. Members of the public may also make their own recordings, but must follow our rules for doing so, including stopping recording when requested. Whilst we do not accept anonymous speaking at the public forum, members of the public who wish to speak but do not want their name published must please indicate that this before saying your piece. Thank you. Okay, we'll start on the agenda, please. Apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillor Mason and Councillor Miller-Jones.
Okay. Number 2 on the agenda, declaration of interest and request for dispensations. For members to declare any interest they may have on the items on the agenda and agree any dispensations to stay.
No.
Number 3 on the agenda, minutes of the meeting of the Town Council held Monday the 16th of May 2022. To confirm the minutes of the Council meeting held on Monday the 16th of May as a correct record. Councillor Roach proposed.
Happy to propose, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Elizabeth seconded. Item 4.
Show of hands.
Sorry, yeah. Can I have a show of hands, please? Unanimous. Agenda number 4, to note progress of actions arising from the minutes not covered by this agenda.
There aren't any that particularly no. The only thing I would say is that C22036 I haven't yet been able to liaise. Obviously there's been rather a lot going on in the last few weeks, so I will get to that.
Thank you. Item number 5, reports from district county councillors on issues pertinent to Haverhill and the public forum. Number A, police report. I'm led to believe that Cheryl Clayton will be with us later on. Yeah. County councillors' reports. B, we've already received a report from Joe Mason. Is there anything else to be added from a county councillor?
Nothing further. No.
Thank you. And district councillors.
The only thing we'll cover it off later on with local plan, but just don't forget we've got the public consultation in the Market Square on Saturday morning if anybody wants to come up and look.
Understood, thank you.
Actually, sorry, just to remind you that we've got a clash of meeting dates now with the extraordinary meeting on the 26th of July at District, which creates a problem because that's our full council meeting here as well. So I think
Yeah, we're aware of that. Thank you.
We'll discuss it later in the meeting.
Yeah. It's actually item 20. Any members of the public, we haven't got any, but they're welcome to make statements or put questions at this time. Number 6, Mayor's report. Hopefully you all received my report, which I sent out on the 17th of June. Any questions, any comments? I'd just like to state that I'm really enjoying myself. It's fantastic, really busy, and obviously so far we've had 2 major events, Platinum Jubilee and just on Saturday the Armed Forces Day. So you know, the people that are involved, the volunteers, having a great time. If anyone else wants to volunteer, please get in touch. We always need volunteers. Thank you. Number 7, consultation, the West Suffolk local plan, which closes on the 26th of July. I believe you attended this, Councillor Smith?
I did, yeah. There was a portal. I thought I sent. Did I send the link round, or did I not?
You did. You sent us your little report round.
Yeah. So I sent a link round on that. So there's quite a lot to look through. It's quite involved, but obviously the district councillors that have been involved in it, there's no more plans for large developments in Haverhill. I think we've got enough at the moment. So I did raise the query why there were some inconsistencies about the Withersfield, the Haverhill Research Park where Taylor Whitney are going to be building, and why that was in with the Haverhill type planning, and it's because the boundaries of the parish are not exactly the same as the boundaries of our, I can't remember what she called it, but our
District.
no, it was, she called it something else. I don't know if anyone can remember what you called it, but they were saying that it was part of the Haverhill
Hinterland.
Settlement.
settlement. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, so it was part of the Haverhill settlement in the way it was referred to in the plans. But obviously it's within the parish of Withersfield. So there was a bit of a query around that. But they see it as a Haverhill settlement, even though we're not going to get anything from it.
Okay.
As such.
Thank you for that.
And then they identified the areas within town, such as the Wisdom Factory and some of Gertine's area and that were potentially areas of development as part of the town centre master plan. And that was it really. But if everyone could go in and have a look.
I have them here. I mean, just briefly, we're not allocating any extra sites to Haverhill effectively is what we're proposing in the local plan because of the amount of growth that it's had. So there's no new sites in there that we're not aware of. So everything that's currently in there is what we've got. So there's no large scale or new sites being proposed for Haverhill.
Thank you. So we don't need to take any further action on that point?
No, if anybody wants to come and look at everything, it will be all on Market Square with the with officers and display boards on Saturday. But if anybody wants to look tonight, I've got all of the books here.
Thank you. And moving on to the West Suffolk Community Governance Review, which closes on the 30th of June. We've covered it off, I think, already. That's obviously the amalgamation of Mount Ward and Central Ward. Any comments on this?
I've already made comments about this. I'm on the review group anyway. I've been a bit disappointed that they've not given us all the information I've asked for, particularly in terms of electorate numbers. There's quite a big disparate between, merging the wards is one thing, but because the LGBCE made such a mess of the last review, we've still got quite big areas where councillors represent like 900 electorate going up to nearly 1400 electorate, and they could have actually redone the thing. We've also got the problem of the West Ward being divided by county divisions, which I think in over a period of time will become a big problem to the town, because you're going to have an area of estates, if you like, represented by two separate councillors. It's not like having two councillors for one division. It's a separate thing. I do worry. It does worry me. So that's what I have already put in. Whether they'll take any notice of it, I don't know. I have shouted and screamed at the meetings I've been at, but I'm always just being told this is only a minor review. But there was the fundamental thing 3 years ago, where I had to put that freedom of information request in, and the LGBC admitted they got it totally wrong, but they won't. They didn't admit that to their local MP, who I also wrote to. So we'll see what happens anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. So obviously, as it's closing on the 30th of June, if you've got any other concerns, get them in fast. Moving on to item number 8, One Haverhill Partnership. To receive a report from the clerk on matters relating to One Haverhill Partnership.
Well, there hasn't really been anything since the board, and obviously I sent round the draft board papers already, so you've seen those. There hasn't been a meeting since.
and you said that the draft minutes have been circulated dated the 9th of June.
The one that was held on the 9th of June.
Yeah. Everyone had them? No questions? Thank you. Moving on to item 9, the adoption of committee reports. 9A, Planning Working Party, to move the adoption of the minutes of the Planning Working Party meetings held on the 3rd and the 24th of May and the 7th of June, and the recommendations contained therein.
I move. Chair.
Councillor Hanlon proposed, Councillor Liz Smith second. Show of hands, please. Unanimous. 9B, Leisure and Community Working Party, to move the adoption of the minutes of the Working Party meeting held the 10th of May and the recommendations contained therein. Proposer, I've forgotten your name. John Burns, seconded by Dave Smith.
It's easily forgotten.
Can I have a show of hands, please? Unanimous. Thank you. 9C, Energy and Sustainability Working Party, to move the adoption of the minutes of the Working Party held on the 14th of June and the recommendations contained therein. Proposer Alan Stinchcombe, seconder John Burns. Show of hands, please.
Sorry.
Unanimous. 9D, a report on the committee meetings in person. To note the report from the clerk on meetings online versus meetings in person. My view on this is, hopefully you've all read it, but my view is that we should be discussing this at the next meeting unless there's any burning issues that you want to air now. Can we have that on the agenda for the next meeting? Item 10, Code of Conduct. To consider adopting the LGA Model Code of Conduct for local councils in common with other local and principal councils in Suffolk. We've also had the tone. Has anyone any comments to make?
Chair. Yeah, I just want to comment on when we had the West Suffolk meeting about it. I'd just like to emphasise, I think last time that I had to do a peculiar interest, when it was online, because I asked this question, when it was online I sort of turned the mic off and the camera off. Apparently what's going to happen now is you've got to actually leave the room, in other words, log off. And I said, well, how's anyone going to know for me to log back on? And apparently I have to give my phone number, which already to the clerk or whoever's doing the online thing, so they can phone me or any other person so they can log me back in again. So that's what the person who done it was proposing. So
I've got to help with that. If it's an online meeting, as we have our meetings on Zoom and not on Teams, if you need to leave the room, we will move you into the waiting room, so you don't need to log off.
oh,
And
right.
then once we finish the item, we'll drag you back from the waiting room, so we'll just admit you again. So you don't need to worry about all that.
Right,
If that's
that's
what I
good.
would do at District, then fine. But with Zoom, we don't need to do any of that sort of
Right.
stuff.
And
Thank you for
also,
that, clearing that up.
Councillor Smith.
Is that, I just asked Colin a question, is that the same for something we designated a working party as per a committee? That will be the same, so that?
Yes, it will be the same. It will be the same for those. So what the big difference is going to mean really is that for any time that you declare any sort of interest at all, it's either a dispensation or leaving the room. I think we'll get a lot more dispensations being given as a result, because obviously the quorum could be an issue. Particularly as obviously you guys are on lots of different committees and things like that, and I can imagine town twinning, etc., could take out a whole load of people, because even if you're just a member of town twinning, then you have a non-registrable interest but still have to leave the room. And that would take out the half the council, wouldn't it? So that's the sort of thing we'd give a dispensation for. On some of the other things, it might be that it's such a no-brainer that you really don't need to worry about getting a dispensation. You can rely on the rest of your colleagues who are going to vote whatever it is through in any case. That section that we had none just now, I think that'll be a rare occurrence. I think there'll always be something coming up in future.
Okay, we have Councillor Brown, then followed by Councillor David Smith, and then Councillor Marks. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it seems a little bit ridiculous, really, because we're obviously putting these out on live stream anyway, so you know you have to log out, go into the waiting room, but you could sit there and watch it on another computer on live stream. So it just seems.
You can't take part. That's the thing. It doesn't say you can't watch through a window or on a computer or something like that. You just can't take part.
Right. Okay.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, all of the district councillors, those that are district councillors, have the training on this now. So on the div, those that are town councillors will be given the same training. And other than that, I think this is a pretty common sense document, and I propose that we accept it.
If I can take the question first, SALC provide training, and there is actually, we can get you access to online training that's already happened to watch. I don't know whether there are any more live sessions coming up, but I can find out for you.
Is it mandatory though?
Well, no, it's not mandatory, but councillors may feel more comfortable and more confident with their position if they've undertaken the training.
Councillor Marks.
I sit on standards, and we were instrumental in approving the new model, and we still had to attend the training, and I was surprised how much I learned actually on that training. And one of the things that came up that was quite important is liking things on Facebook. So if you like something, if you tick something, that is potentially unacceptable. With all the new codes that we have about the type of things you can do and you can't do, and the type of way you speak to people and what have you. If you like something, if somebody just, for example, made a homophobic joke and you liked it, you can actually fall very badly foul of the code. And it's just really a warning that it's, and apparently some council did get absolutely prosecuted and fired. So the training is worth going on. It's not really long. It's actually really interesting and it's quite interactive. I found it very interesting, and I actually sit on standards, but I did actually learn some things from it, and it's quite worrying, I think, the amount of things you can fall foul of very easily and inadvertently. So I think it's worth going on, to be honest.
Thank you for that.
I think one of the comments they made, though, was that if you fell foul of the code and you've been on the track, I can't remember which way around it now, you can't use that as an excuse and say, oh, I haven't had the training and therefore I kind of didn't know. So you can't use that as an excuse if you do fall foul of it.
Okay. Councillor Elizabeth.
Just to respond to Councillor Marks' comments there, is that a big change? Because I know standards a few years ago when the complaints have been made, they said it's only been where people have made a comment online or ticked something in their capacity as a councillor.
They did make some really interesting distinctions, but the lines were distinctly blurred, I think. I don't know who else has been on that meeting, but if something, anything you say can be interpreted as you being a councillor, but I think even, they said basically, you should always think that you're a councillor, and therefore when you tick something, just because you're ticking it as a member of the public, you can't really say, oh, I agree with that homophobic remark, but I won't agree with it if I'm a councillor. So you wouldn't get away with that. Whereas, obviously, on other things, if you're having a political argument with somebody and they call you a councillor, and it's a political argument, they've done that deliberately to make it look like you're a councillor, that they won't win that one because you are allowed to be fairly robust in your discussion. It's a very difficult sort of conversation, but it did make that distinction that if you tick something, you can't say, I like that as an individual, but I wouldn't like it in my council capacity, because you are a councillor and you signed up to that code. So I think that, you know, in terms of being very careful what you tick that you like, even if you think it's funny, be very careful with what you're saying.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Davis-Smith.
Yes, if you may not be doing something in your capacity as a councillor, and so it wouldn't be against the code of conduct, but it would be reputational damage to yourself that you need to be aware of.
Thank you. So we have a proposal on the table at the moment. Sorry, John.
Sorry. I think this is actually a massive missed opportunity. I was chairman of standards at St Edmunds for a year, and many of the things that I came across and was involved with have just not been addressed in these code of conduct at all. I think they've muddied the waters by the register of assets, interests, or whatever you want to call it, and not made that clear at all. Hence, you're happy to have training courses to explain the code, where it should be really simplified. You know, we went through a massive consultation on this, and it seems to be that COVID seems to have just made them not even think about what they're doing. So I personally have a big problem supporting this, because I don't think it goes far enough. Thank you.
Thank you. What I was about to say was we have a proposal on the table, but I think that the suggestion that all councillors should be trained. I don't know if you would like to add that to your proposal, Councillor Davis-Smith.
Yeah, happy with that.
So we've got a proposal. Is there anyone willing to second it? Councillor Roach?
Yeah, I think second it. I think especially with social media, it's very easy to fall foul with this, so you need to be really, really careful. Always, if you're going to look at something, follow the thread down and see what's at the bottom of the thread before you sort of like or comment, because, you know, very often the top bit might look really fine, but you get round to the bottom and there's all sorts of horrible things. So, you know, just be really, really careful. But it's okay as a code, but I think you do need to make sure that you're trained and you understand it, because you'll be guilty of being in fact breach of it, even if you haven't had training. So just get some training.
Thank you. All those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? 10 in favour, 1 against, 1 abstaining. Carried.
It's carried. It's all that matters. We don't need to.
Thank you. Okay, number 11, financial matters. To agree the payment of the following list. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Hanlon, seconder, please. Councillor McManus, all those in favour?
Sorry. Can I just say that we really need a total on that box, please?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
We normally do though, don't we? I think
We normally do.
Yeah.
So subject to someone adding it all up. All those in favour? Unanimous. Then 11B, grant application for Junior Part 1. Since the minutes were put together, since the agenda was put together, we found out from Junior Part 1 that they are withdrawing the application. There's nothing untoward. They've already got enough funding from elsewhere. 11C, grant application, Rotary Kids out, £500 for a day out for local disabled children. Any comments? In favour? Proposed from Councillor
I
Davis-Smith.
think that's what it's doing.
Just a comment.
Oh, sorry.
Just one day event on the 22nd June, so I'm assuming this is a retrospective application.
No, the application was dated March.
Okay.
The application was in plenty of time. This is us. Apologies for that. So this is us not processing it quickly enough.
Okay.
Councillor Mark.
I'm proposing we accept it. 40 kids from here getting it out. Fantastic.
Anyone second? Councillor Roach. All those in favour? Unanimous. Moving on to number 12, actions taken under delegated powers. I believe there's none. Number 13, end of year accounts. Okay, 13A, significant events. To consider if any events that occur during the financial year or after the year end have consequences or potential consequences on the authority's finances. If any such events are identified, the authority then needs to determine whether the financial consequences need to be reflected in the statement of accounts. And you should look at Appendix 1 on your agenda. Any comments? All those in favour? Sorry.
Do you want to propose?
Yeah. Can we have a proposer, please? Councillor Burns, seconder. Marks. All those in favour? Unanimous. 13B. Review of internal controls. To consider the review of internal controls for the council. Papers are attached.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Lucarini, seconder. Councillor McManus. All those in favour? Unanimous. 13B, small 2, to consider the review of the internal audit, which is also attached. Proposer is Councillor Roach, seconder. Councillor Burns, all those in favour? Unanimous.
So who was the proposer?
Councillor Roach.
Sorry?
13B, small 3, to review the terms of reference, specification and effectiveness of the internal audit. Papers again attached. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Roach, seconder. Councillor Hanlon. All those in favour? Unanimous. 13C, annual accounts and return. Small 1, adoption of the annual accounts. Before I ask for a proposer, anyone got any questions? Is that a question?
No.
Are you proposing?
No.
Councillor McManus, seconder. Councillor Lucarini. All those in favour? Unanimous. 13C, 1, income and expenditure, again attached.
No, you've just done that one. It's number 2 now.
Sorry,
Balance
to the balance sheet, also attached. Proposer, please. Councillor Lucarini, seconder. Councillor Liz Smith. All those in favour? Unanimous.
sheet.
13C, small 2, to approve sections 1 and 2 of the annual governance and accountability return for the year ending 31st of March 2022. The annual governance statement is attached. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Lucarini, seconders, Councillor Roach. All those in favour? Unanimous. (13C), small 2, accounting statements. Again are attached. Proposer, please. Councillor Hanlon, seconder. Councillor McManus. All those in favour? Unanimous. (13C), small 2, number 3, earmarked reserves as at 31st of March 2022. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Lucarini. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Roach. All those in favour? Unanimous. 13C, small 2, number 4, assets register. If you could read all this,
Yeah.
you're better than me, Gungadin.
Councillor Burns wants to say something. you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to recommend that on the asset register, you'll notice there's a lot of items that are actually no longer an asset because they've been disposed of in one way or another, some several years ago. So what I'm going to recommend that what we should do is we keep the item on the physical spreadsheet for a year or 12 months after we've disposed of it, until we get round to the annual review, and then we just remove it from the thing just to reduce the list down a bit. I'm also going to suggest that we perhaps, the last time we did an asset check was probably about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was you and Ivor and some others went round.
Myself and Ivor went round, but I think it was a few years back. But I just wonder whether sometime during this coming year, I'm quite happy to do that. Go around and physically check things up there. There may be some items on that list we no longer have. Anyway, just thank you.
Can I suggest, Councillor Burns, that you make it 13 months rather than 12 months?
Yeah, whatever's suitable, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
guarantees it'll be on at least
so we
once.
include it in this meeting, relevant meeting. Thank you.
So subject to that comment, can we have a proposal please? Councillor Burns, seconder. Councillor Lucarini, all those in favour? Unanimous. And finally in that section, 14C small 2(5), the risk register. Can I have a proposal please? Councillor Dave Smith, seconder. Councillor Burns, all those in favour? Unanimous. 13D, to confirm all relevant insurances are in place.
Yes, they are. That's as we've done in October. It should be October 2021.
Okay, moving on to 14. I'm going to do 14, 15, 16 and 17 in block. But before I do that, we have two amendments to the sheets in front of you. So on Leisure and Community Committee, I propose that we increase the membership to 10 councillors plus the mayor. Can I have someone to second that please? Councillor Hanlon. All those in favour? Unanimous. And then on Energy and Sustainability Committee, I'm proposing that we move it from 5 councillors plus the mayor up to 6 councillors. Can I have a seconder please? Councillor Lucarini. All those in favour? All those against? Okay. So I now propose that we look at, as I said earlier...
If you wanted to add Councillor Smith to those two committees.
Sorry, yes. And the reason for increasing these numbers was to add Councillor Liz Smith to the Leisure and Community Committee and also to the Energy and Sustainability Committee. Do you have to individually propose that? No. Okay, so now I'd like a proposer for 14, 15, 16 and 17. Councillor Hanlon, can I have a seconder please? Councillor Liz Smith, all those in favour?
I didn't see those hands.
Yeah. All those against?
May I ask a question?
Surely.
Can I just ask, on the nomination, you've got some chairs and that missing, and some of the committees haven't got chairs on them, and I thought tonight they were going to do that. Were you not going to do that?
My opinion on this is that main committees have got chairs. Smaller ones, obviously like the 2 new ones, haven't got chairs, but I would assume that in due course the individuals on these committees would elect their own chair.
That's right. That's what normally happens.
Well, normally, what would normally happen is after the May, or before the May meeting, the whole committees would decide on their chairs, but it's just been blanketly agreed that everybody would remain in their chairs who were already in them, which is slightly unprecedented. But, so I'm slightly confused by all of that, but fine, that's the agreement of the council members.
Chair, if it's helpful. So I take on board what you say, and absolutely the two new committees need to recommend a chair to the full council. So until they've met and made that recommendation, that's when that will happen. Obviously, at the meetings of the next meetings of these,
Of all of the committees.
of all of them, then
They will then ratify and
they'll
confirm
want to
their chair.
ratify, because otherwise the poor chairs of those committees have got no escape mechanism whatsoever.
No,
So,
no.
yeah, so what
Can we
we'll
just
do...
clarify that then, because that's
Yeah.
slightly confusing for me.
Yeah, so planning, I don't think it's on the planning agenda for tomorrow, but I'll make sure it's on all the committees that they appoint a chair, so that actually, if there's any differences, that'll report back and that will automatically change. If you look on the finance committee, the ones in the ones in grey even, those are ex officio, so they will automatically change if we change the person who's the chair of those committees.
Can I ask another one? I know we've already done, but I'm just confused that we've extended 2 committees and then we haven't gone out to see if anybody wants to fill that. You just automatically appointed somebody to it, and you haven't checked whether that vacancy that rises by extending the committee is open to everybody. You haven't done that.
Yeah.
Well, everybody had the chance. Everybody's already thrown the hat in the ring. That's why these committees are full.
Yeah, but you've extended 2 committees by more people, but you haven't then asked whether people want to have the opportunity to go on that aren't already on it. You've just automatically filled
We've
it.
already asked that question,
When?
and we sent it out to all the groups, and you've all nominated people to be on the committees.
Yeah, but nobody knew it was going to be extended
Yeah.
by one.
The reason is that when Councillor Smith was on those committees, she became mayor and took the ex officio position, which released a space which somebody jumped into, which meant that she's automatically, therefore, as soon as she stopped being mayor, lost her seat on committees that she previously was members of, which is why we've done it.
But that's why before mayor making, we always do that tranche. We just messed it all up this year.
We did, yeah, basically. Yeah. Does anybody else want to be on one of those committees then?
No, but the question should have been asked, that's all.
That it should have been done before mayor making, as you said. It wasn't.
But then the decision to extend the committees wasn't made before then.
Obviously it's going to happen all fresh next year because it will be a new council. So if you can bear with us this year, unless anyone feels that they should be on a committee, that they lost the opportunity.
I think it's just making sure that we do things in the right way, common sense. I don't think anybody's really worried about us being on it or not. Making sure we do things properly.
Okay. Moving on to number 18, casual vacancy. This is just to note that there are now 2 casual vacancies to be filled by co-option, one each in Haverhill South and Haverhill West. Moving on to number 19, to receive any urgent correspondence. Moving on to the date of the next meeting. This was originally planned for Tuesday, the 26th of July 2022. However, the District Council have called a full council meeting for this date. There are no alternative available dates in the Arts Centre at the end of July. I'm going to propose that we look at the earlier week of the 18th of July. Perhaps you want to look at this one.
Say which date?
18th of July, Monday the 18th of July.
So just as a rider to this, the auditorium is not available on the 18th or the 19th. It's not available on the 25th either. So the choice is to have the full council, is to not have a full council meeting at all, but then we don't have one in August, so it'll be a long way to September. Have people come to the meeting that's already scheduled, but if district councillors all go to the district council, then we can't be quorate. So there would have to be some agreement that some district councillors don't attend the district council meeting. And then the alternative is we hold this at a different venue, for instance, downstairs in the studio. But obviously, you know, it's whether or not you're comfortable with using that yet as a meeting space, or we find an alternative venue altogether, although that hasn't always been universally popular when we've done it before.
Councillor Thurman?
Why can't you hold these meetings in the studio like you used to do? What is the problem with that? So, I mean, people must feel comfortable now and they're back to normal, isn't it? And why you hold up here? I mean, I think how we need to deal with it much better.
I'm totally in agreement with you. Councillor McManus?
I agree with Paul. As it is, I struggle in here, so I'd rather go back to the studio anyway.
So, can I have a proposal that we have the meeting held downstairs on what date?
Well, we can either have it on we can stack it with finance, so that there's two meetings. I.e., we can take the finance bit, as we have done before, take the finance report, the RFO report, in full council, right? And that's the only real substantive bit of the finance meeting in July. Or we can have it entirely separate on a different evening. I would need to check the diary, but it's unlikely the studio is going to be used on the 18th. It's not normally booked out very often in the evenings.
So, subject, Councillor Burns?
If there's nothing of substance in the finance meeting, then I think it should be merged, only because actually finance clashes with West Suffolk Cabinet, where I've got to present, well, the market review thing, I believe, as well. I'm looking at David here.
Yeah, I'm at Cabinet anyway.
Sorry?
I'm at Cabinet anyway.
Oh, okay, you're at Cabinet anyway. So, if there's nothing substantial in finance, then I would say merge it.
Right, and then hold it on the 18th.
Then hold it on the 18th.
So the proposal is to merge finance and full council held in the studio on the 18th. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Thurman, can I have a seconder? Councillor Hanlon, all those in favour? Unanimous.
What through is making this? Just look at the canvas.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry.
That is only for that one meeting, by the way. Then there still has to be a discussion anyway about the 9D document, etc.
The meeting's about to close, but we're still waiting for Cheryl Clayton.
There's some stuff for you to sign there.
Colin, can I just ask Pat for planning committee and the McDonald's application, because that's going to come up. If I can, I don't know,
sure.
It's against all rules really, but that's going to come up. So you'd be aware that Brian haven't really discussed it with anybody, and the proposal is also for a 12-metre high-speed illuminated end sign as well. So you'll see that as well. But I think for West Suffolk and County Council, they extended it to the 1st of July. I don't know if they've given that courtesy to the town council.
Right. So what, you want us to take that off, do you?
No, don't take it off the top.
Oh, right.
I'll just
Oh, you just give me info?
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, actually, yeah, because it's been live streamed.
I don't know if the sign's on. John, is the sign on that one?
It's a separate application number.
Is that? I don't think. You know the one that you gave us, the McDonald's one.
Yeah.
Is the sign application on there?
Yeah, they're all on there as well.
They're on there as well.
I think you did
It's a separate application
yeah,
number.
there's three separate applications. Yeah.
There's three, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I have to go because it's a Braintree application. So that's the thing. That's why we John's kindly gave us that.
There's an Essex highway standing objection, holding objections on it as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've seen that. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, that'll all go to committee. We discussed that. Thank you.
We now have Cheryl Clayton from the local police going to address us. Thank you, Cheryl.
So I'm at Paisley tonight. He couldn't be with you, I'm afraid, so he sent me along. But he sent a report for me to tell you. So he apologises for not being here in person. He says current policing priorities in Haverhill remain centred around youth-related crime and antisocial behaviour, drug-related activities and vehicle crime. Over the last 2 months, we've seen an increase in theft from vehicles, most offences occurring overnight to vehicles that apparently have been left insecure in various locations across the town. Through working with victims, building community intelligence and taking a proactive approach to these crimes, 3 suspects have been arrested and a number of property items have been recovered. Inquiries are still remaining ongoing whilst the suspects remain on police bail. We're working with the Crown Prosecution Service towards a charging decision with the hope that we can get the 3 individuals into court. As part of the series, we continue to analyse the offences against times, dates, locations to identify the areas that are most susceptible to car crime. We'll then be looking to increase visibility in those areas to provide reassurance as well as crime reduction, whilst in the evenings and overnight provide resources to ensure to prevent and detect further offences. We've also experienced a spate of dwelling burglaries that have not only affected Haverhill but spread across the locality into Sudbury. Thanks to some positive witness accounts and CCTV, we've worked with other forces to identify a group from Lincolnshire who've been targeting the eastern region, committing house burglaries in multiple numbers on certain days. 2 weeks ago, 3 males from Lincolnshire were arrested as part of a wider operation, and CID officers from Suffolk continue to work with colleagues across multiple forces to build the case for prosecution. Since the arrest, we have not had any further reports of house burglaries. Officers continue to work with our proactive teams in developing intelligence around key addresses and individuals who continue to exploit the vulnerable with drugs trade. In the coming weeks, teams will be executing a number of warrants to target addresses linked to county line stealing, following already positive work recently in arresting a number of people known to be linked with drugs across the town. The main focus of demand locally has without doubt been related on youth-related crime and disorder. The S&T are heavily engaged with partner agencies in tackling a number of identified young people who've committed a range of offences from public order to serious robberies against their own peer groups. Arrests of the 5 key individuals have been made with bail conditions and curfews to limit opportunities to offend. Whilst also working with social care, education and housing, we're looking for a longer term solution. Whilst we are yet to gather the evidence, we strongly believe that the recent spate of graffiti could be attributed to this group. We will continue to investigate these offences in order to prevent, deter and prosecute those responsible. We also arrested another one of those just yesterday, who's also on bail.
Thank you, Sharon. Any questions?
I had one. I don't know if you're aware, but over the weekend, Saturday night, we had the plants in the High Street overturned again. So just wondered if you could have a look at CCTV. And I think looking at Facebook, the individuals are probably known, but you know, it's taxpayers' money. It's lots of work goes into doing the planters in the High Street and keeping the town nice. And we get this every year, and it's becoming to a point where they need, you know, they need cracking down on. So it's effectively, I think, criminal damage, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
But if somebody could have a...
Yeah, someone will look at the CCTV for those. I haven't seen the pictures myself on Facebook, but I did see it on there, so... Anybody else?
Councillor Burns?
Thanks, Cheryl, for coming. My only comment was actually just to thank you for your work on Saturday again with Les and Harry escorting our convoy around, and also your emergency cadets helping us with the flag raising. It was a brilliant day, and I thank you for your help on that. Thank you.
No, thank you for organising it. I thought it was a great event and lots of people turned out on the market square and it was good for the town. Some positive feedback.
Can I ask, how did the camp go?
How did the camp go? Oh, really well. Yeah, they were up all night, so I was knackered yesterday. But they had a really good time, so yeah, they want to go camping again. They didn't want to go home. So it was a whole county event, if some of you probably don't know that. So all the cadets in Suffolk got together over the weekend and we had a camp and they had all different scenarios to deal with and during the day and then played games at night. So yeah, they thoroughly enjoyed it.
So these were the cadets that had been with you during the day on Saturday and then they went camping in the evening?
Those two didn't come camping because the camp started early in the morning on the Saturday, so I did the parade and then I went straight off to camp where they already were. So.
Councillor Hanlon?
Yeah, thank you, by the way, as well for what you just said about the youths in the High Street. That was very, very scary. A lot of people were very frightened, even though they were quite young, over 10. Can you confirm that, is it over 10, they can be arrested?
That's right, from 10 they can be arrested.
Because that's what I knew, and that's what I was sort of trying to tell everyone. Because the word come back to me that they wouldn't be arrested and things like that. So
yeah, so we did things all to start with, like visiting the parents, and have been working with the schools, and then obviously recently we've led up to these arrests. So they've had warnings and they have been dealt with, but then they just need to be arrested and go through the system that way.
And they've got dispersal orders, you say, as well? Is it?
They've got curfews and bail conditions.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, Gerald, it's just really nice to see you here and to have an officer come to the Town Council. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Any other questions for Cheryl? Thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, on that basis, I believe we have now completed the agenda, so we've closed the meeting at 19:52.